ASEAN's top diplomats will gather in Jakarta for a foreign ministers meeting this week. It's the halfway mark since Indonesia assumed the role of ASEAN chair. And the bloc has been facing criticism for not being able to resolve various issues, including the Myanmar crisis. Young Kid looks at what ASEAN can do to keep its centrality intact.
The storm may have passed, but all is not calm. Though the Myanmar army paints a picture to show rebuilding efforts and aid distribution are ongoing, the path to recovery post-Cyclone Mocha faces many roadblocks. The United Nations has slammed the Myanmar army for blocking humanitarian access and aid delivery to affected regions in Rakhine State. While ASEAN's aid has been sent to Myanmar, it couldn't make further inroad, unlike in 2008 during Cyclone Nargis when ASEAN brokered talks between the then regime and the UN. Back then, the West had threatened to apply what's known as the R2P on Myanmar. The responsibility to protect is an international principle aimed at protecting civilians.
Today is different. The West is distracted. They have their own problems with the ongoing and possibly protracted war in Ukraine. And even if the war were to end tomorrow, you'll be talking about reconstruction of Ukraine. So those kinds of considerations are no longer there. There's no impetus for any party to quickly step up and work on this.
And it's amid this gloomy backdrop that ASEAN ministers are meeting this week. On top of global security issues, the bloc has to tackle ongoing challenges, pushing forward the negotiation of a code of conduct for the South China Sea and navigating tensions between major powers like the United States and China. Key topics that underscore the importance of Indonesia's chairmanship theme to keep ASEAN resilient and relevant. Increasingly, ASEAN's centrality has been questioned, no thanks to the Myanmar crisis, which remains unresolved. Last year, ASEAN made a rare but firm decision to leave the Myanmar army out of ASEAN summits and foreign ministers' meetings. Some ASEAN members have recently suggested for the bloc to re-engage with the military. Thailand has also gone one step further by planning informal talks with the Myanmar army.
Having talks better than no talks. First. Second, if you can have talks about future talks engaging other stakeholders inside Myanmar and outside of Myanmar, even better still. The question is then, when Thailand does this, has it done it in consultation with the chair of the year? That's very important because ASEAN has already put out the 5-point consensus. It's not unhealthy, but you need to bring in the ASEAN chair.
ASEAN leaders have said they'll engage with all stakeholders in Myanmar. But they've also reaffirmed their position at the recent summit, that the military will be left out of meetings at the foreign ministers and leaders level. Some observers argue that ASEAN's current stance on Myanmar shows that it is united. But for the bloc to boost this united front, it all goes back to the root cause.
I think the first thing to do is to set your own house in order, which is to deal with Myanmar. And herein we see there is a division in views. There is a group of Myanmar's most immediate neighbours wanting to solve the issues that they have. On the other hand, there's a group of countries that have not clearly actually articulated why they cannot engage with Myanmar.
Some might argue that these are issues the foreign ministers need to work out as they gather in Jakarta this week. But the big question is, what progress can come out of these meetings? Young Kid, CNA.